So all those conferences and talks are going on right now. Thank you guys for being here. My name is Spencer Churchill. I am a TVI and O&M here at FBC. Do most of my work in the Adult and Transition Services Department.
Hi everyone, my name is Melanie Audet, and I am a teacher for visually impaired students and orientation and mobility specialist, and I work for Foundation for Blind Children in our itinerant services department, and I've been here for about 2 years.
Hi everyone, this is Jason Ratajczyk. I split my time between the itinerant and the adults, and I teach orientation and mobility and vision rehab therapy, and this is my 5th year here.
So thank you guys for joining us on our presentation. We're going to be talking about some different technologies that can be used for teaching orientation and mobility, or if you find it useful for yourself with traveling. We are going to talk about some of the differences between Apple Maps and Google Maps that we found, as all 3 of us are orientation and mobility instructors. And just kind of the differences and kind of the new updates with the apps and things that features that you can use that you might not have known you can do more than just looking up an address. We're going to talk a little bit about Blind Square and AER, if you're not familiar, kind of a new technology being used. And then we have some additional resources, a couple of apps that we each personally really like using. So I'm going to start off and talk a little bit of an overview. I'm sure, how many of you use Apple Maps and Google Maps? By a show of hands. Is there anybody who doesn't use it at all? I figured everyone would mostly probably use these apps. So just an overview of kind of what these apps are. So both apps are able, you're able to share locations. So if you want to share your location, if you're a traveler or if you're teaching your students, if they want to be able to have somebody who can kind of know where they are in the community in space, both apps have a feature where you can share your locations. So that's a good feature to teach our students, to be able to have somebody know where they are when they're traveling. And both sort of work like Yelp. If you are trying to, if you're in an area and you're wanting to know what's around me, food, coffee, grocery stores, you're able to easily look up by opening up the search, and you can immediately just look up food, grocery stores, and it'll show the ones that are closest to you, and you can immediately start to navigate to those places, and it'll give you the reviews, it'll give you kind of the price range, so it's kind of like Yelp in a sense. And both have satellite mode, so if you're a low vision user, you can kind of get that bird's eye view of where you are, where you're going to. And both provide detailed information about public transportation on bus systems, so you're able to use this to be able to teach routes. How many of you are O&M instructors? And how many of you use Google Maps or Apple Maps for bus route planning? So that's pretty much everybody, as you probably knew. And both are free on smartphones through Google Play and Apple Store, and are good applications. Oh, I already put that, for specifically the bus and light rail systems here in Phoenix. Go next slide. So kind of a little bit of the differences between the 2 apps. I have been using these apps since I've been teaching, but I kind of went in a little bit deeper to just look at specific features that I want to make sure to be teaching my students to use instead of just planning a route or just typing in a destination. So the good thing I used to be a little bit more of a Google Maps user for teaching mobility, but I've kind of switched, even preparing for this presentation I started using Apple Maps more. I think it's kind of the winner between the 2 because of some new updates. So with Apple Maps, you can have expandable details per step, and it lists out the name of each bus stop. And when looking at location region, the weather for that area appears in the lower right corner. So this is a helpful tool for students kind of when they're getting ready. When they're getting ready to travel, being able to select appropriate clothing, or just kind of having a good understanding of what they're getting into before they go out and travel. That's an important skill with teaching O&M. And also, Apple Maps highlights routes for upcoming meetings on your iPhone calendar, which is a kind of a neat feature. A con that I obviously found was it's not available for Android users, unfortunately, but iPhones are the way to go anyways. And you can favorite locations, but you can't save it to a specific folder for later referencing. So myself as an itinerant provider, I use Google Maps for getting around the valley because I have maybe 7 different districts and different schools, and I can make categories under Google Maps so I don't have to type in the school every single time I get in my car. But that could be used for teaching our students to have kind of different locations saved so that they don't have to always keep searching for it, or maybe they're looking for a specific grocery store and they keep typing in the wrong one, they're going to the wrong destination. They can save those destinations in Google Maps. Is a little bit better for organizing. And I like Apple Maps for low vision users. This is just kind of the difference in planning a bus route. So I planned a bus route from FBC to one of the high schools I work with some students at in Glendale. And Google Maps, there's a picture on the left, and it just kind of, when you type in, it kind of shows you a blue line of kind of point A to point B, and then there's a bus transfer. And it shows that. But Apple Maps has the same feature. It kind of shows you the same blue line with the transfer. It's a little bit of a different route it planned. But when you zoom in, you're able to see each of the bus stops is like a small white circle, but you're able to actually see what the name of that bus stop is. So you don't have to try to look at maybe the street name. You can actually, it'll just tell you. So one of the bus stop names is Northern Ave and 17th Ave. So this is something I've begun using with some of my low vision O&M kiddos, is you can zoom it in, and then you could use the zoom feature on the iPhone to even zoom in further if Maps isn't letting you zoom in any further. So this is just kind of helpful so that they could see while they're traveling the name of each bus stop. Previously, some of the buses with Valley Metro had some older buses that weren't announcing every stop, so it was kind of hard for some of my students to know if they were getting ready to get off if the bus wasn't announcing it every time. Something new with Apple Maps is they have started to create indoor maps where you can get detailed directions inside major airports and shopping centers around the world. They have it on their website, and you're able to find out what restaurants are past security at the airport, where the nearest restroom is, or what floor your favorite store could be at the mall. And they also have third-party app extensions through Apple Maps that allow you to do things, booking a table at a restaurant and getting a ride there through Uber without leaving Maps. So you can make a reservation through OpenTable, and it's kind of a neat way to kind of organize maybe one big trip if you're doing something with other people. And I have another picture on the screen of some screenshots from my iPhone. So I looked up Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport, so if you've updated your Apple Maps. Has anyone used the Apple Maps with maybe navigating at the airport at all? So it's kind of neat. They have a couple of different things you can do within the map. You can look up information for terminals, check-ins, gates, bag claims, food, drinks, shops, and restrooms. So I have a screenshot. I had clicked on food because I really love food and knowing where I'm going to eat when I go to the airport. And the airport, surprisingly, at Phoenix has a lot of good options, I'm sure, as you guys know. But you can look up different terminals. So I looked up Terminal 3, and it would tell me what's located in that terminal without having to go on Safari and just figure it out and typing in Google a little bit harder. I'm always looking for Chick-fil-A, and unfortunately, I don't think they have that in the Phoenix airport. But then you also can look at check-ins, and if you're trying to figure out maybe what floor you need to get to, you can, that information, when you have selected like which gate you're going to or which airline, it'll tell you what level you need to get to. So if there's not somebody around to tell you where to go, you can look up that information and begin to figure that out on your own. and a little bit with Google Maps. Is there anybody in the room who uses just Apple Maps at all for teaching O&M or for O&M? So is mostly everybody a Google Map user, pretty much? I was before, but I've been using Apple Maps a lot more recently, and I've been finding it to be pretty successful. So the pros with Google Maps, it lists the ETA of a delayed bus in red, which is pretty helpful. It kind of keeps in sync. You can use on both the Android and iPhone. And a new feature, it has the swipe up while navigating menu that offers an option to activate one-tap buttons to find another destination along your route. So you can use this if you're a driver, but not while you're driving. If you need to quickly find a gas station or you're hungry while you're driving, when you stop, you could quickly kind of look something up and it'll plan that into your total route. But you can also use that just when you're using maybe public transportation, getting from point A to point B, or just walking in kind of a busy area. So you could find a restaurant, coffee shop, grocery store along your route. And you can create category names, kind of I already talked about that, which I really like working with my students on kind of creating different categories of places that they would like to go and just being able to easily go through their lists and be able to get to that location. And some cons, when you zoom in too much, you have kind of a low contrast reading, and kind of like with Apple Maps, you're able to see the names of each bus stop, which I like. And Google Maps, you can see that there is a bus stop, but it's not named. You could see the street around it, though, and just kind of guess. And I think it's not as accessible as Apple Maps for a low vision user. And the bus stops are a blue bus icon, but I mentioned it doesn't give you the name. But another neat thing with Google Maps, if you have an Android phone, Google Maps has a whole series of helpful voice commands, kind of like Siri with the iPhone. You can say, okay, Google, while you are already en route, and then you could say, what road is this, or exit navigation, or what's my next turn, so you can kind of interact while you're traveling if you were hands-free. All right, Jason, you want to talk a little bit about Blind Square?
All right, I'm here to touch on Blind Square. How many of you use Blind Square regularly? A few. I got interested in Blind Square because one of my professors told me about it at Western Michigan, and I just taught myself, just exploring the menu and trial and error. It seems a little cumbersome at first because there's so many settings you can go into, but now it's something that I use with all of my students, school age and my adult clients. Blind Square is one of my favorite navigation apps. It really helps reinforce the address system. And also, if you go into simulation mode, you can preview the environment that you're going to be traveling in that day. So I'll have my students go into simulation mode, and we'll take a look at the intersections we're going to be going to and some points of interest. So, you know, with some of the younger kids, it's hard to get them motivated, but I've found that using the simulation mode kind of gets them jacked up for mobility, so I like to use that feature. As far as the pros, Blind Square is compatible with VoiceOver. The user can adjust the amount of auditory feedback that they want to receive. A common complaint I've heard from a lot of people is, you know, Blind Square is constantly talking, and you know, it's fighting with my VoiceOver, but if you go into settings, you can adjust the amount of feedback that you're going to receive. Another thing that's really cool is that Blind Square supports the use of Braille displays. The cons, it's $40, so it's a little pricey, but I feel like the pros outweigh the cons in regards to price. It's only available on iOS devices. They've been talking for years about getting it on the Android platform, but they just haven't done it yet. There's been some the discussions on the discussion boards online. People get pretty frustrated that it's not available yet on Android, and they keep saying it's coming, but it's not here yet. Also, a new feature that will be out soon, according to them, is you'll be able to use some of the features without the internet. Right now, you have to have an internet connection to use Blind Square. A con is that it does not provide turn-by-turn directions, so it has to be used in conjunction with other installed navigation apps, Apple Maps, Google Maps. So Blind Square determines the user's location using the iOS device's GPS capabilities. It uses OpenStreetMaps, and you can also link it to your Foursquare if you have one. I use my iPad, and I don't have Foursquare, and I seem to have pretty good success with it. But you can link it to Foursquare, which will enable you to check into places, access menus, and it'll get you some more features about the venue that you're going to if you do link it to a Foursquare. The nice thing about Blind Square is you can fully customize it. Blind Square has its own high-quality a cappella voices and several languages. So the user can set the Blind Square speech rate and also adjust the volume to different levels so that you can differentiate it between voiceover if you're using a voiceover. I set my Blind Square to announce points of interest based on the clock face, but the user has the option to go in and choose cardinal directions, or you can use degrees. I like using the clock face because it kind of reinforces that with my students, but I've also used cardinal directions and it works really well. Another option you can choose is the distance control, and at the top of the screen, the main screen, you'll see a radius slider, and the user can adjust this setting, which creates a circle with a radius anywhere from 82 feet to 1.24 miles, and your position is centered in the middle of the circle. So when you're traveling, Blind Square will announce the points of interest and other destinations within this range that you set. And you can also filter the announcements, which I touched on a little bit earlier. I prefer streets only, unless we're searching for a specific objective, because it'll just start announcing everything and anything. But you can choose streets only, you can select all, you can select my places that you have saved within the app, streets and my places, and places only. And right now I want to touch on a few of my favorite features, which include look around, your location, and simulation mode. With look around, you can point your device in various compass directions, and Blind Square will announce the direction and all the intersections and places that are located between you and the perimeter of your circle. My favorite feature that you can use when the device is locked is called your location. It announces your street address, as well as information about the location of the nearest street intersection and venues around you. And to access this feature, all you have to do is shake their device. And lastly, my other favorite feature, which I touched on earlier, is simulation mode. When you activate this control, Blind Square will place itself at the location you choose, and it also, in the background, play a slight swishing traffic sound, just to remind the user that they are in simulation mode. And you can go into settings and turn simulation mode off and start using it when you're traveling in the environment. And next, Spencer's going to touch on AER. Oh, sorry, question? Yes, you can do that too. Yeah.
Thank you, Jason. Can everyone hear all right? I know the echo in here is not the best. Yes, no, thank you. We're good, all right. We connected on here. All right, how many people by a say of I have heard of AER? Aye, all right, that's pretty good. I don't think that was just the echo either. Don't mind the roof. So AER stands for Artificial Intelligence and Remote Assistance. Started in 2015. So fairly new product, and their vision and belief behind this product is that a loss of immediate access to visual information is the real challenge of blindness. Through AER, they allow users to fully engage, explore, and experience the world. So there's might be a little bit of a basic misconception that AER are those glasses that you have to wear all the time. You don't have to purchase or have the glasses to use AER. You can download the app on your phone and subscribe to it and use the camera on your phone, which is pretty cool. So you don't need the glasses and the little Wi-Fi connector or the hotspot that comes with it. So you can just simply use the app on your phone, stream data, and subscribe to the different amount of minutes per month that AER offers, and we'll get to those later. So they have had a couple of different styles of glasses if you wanted to go the glasses route. The original style it was just like a regular pair of sunglasses with a camera on it. I have them here. It's kind of like the glasses in some Secret Service movie that you might see where somebody is out to protect the president. And so there's a camera along the right part of the frame. And then there's a separate Wi-Fi hotspot, which is like the size of a cell phone that you'd have to carry in your pocket. Then you'd have to engage the hotspot, engage your camera, wait for them to connect a signal, and then go through the app on your phone and connect to an AER agent. So there's a lot of steps that AER said there are too many wireless steps involved in this. We're finding way too many errors and miscommunications. So they came out with a newer model. It's called the Horizon, which make me look a little more like a bug, but they're pretty nice. They're black. There's not a huge camera along the right side of the frame. The camera is now in the middle. It's a little more inconspicuous. And the only down to the Horizon glasses is that you have to carry the wire with you. And so you hardwire between the frame of the glasses, which is like right behind your right ear, is where you plug it into, all the way down to another phone. So it's a Samsung Galaxy that AER has partnered with, and it's only good for using the AER app. So you would have your phone in your back pocket, connected to this. If you wanted to like run the cord through your shirt so it didn't look like you were a cyborg, you could do that. The other downside to the Horizon compared to the original model is that the audio comes out of this Galaxy now, whereas the original model, they had an earpiece embedded within that frame, which I thought was really cool, so you can just hear the audio right then and there. But with the Horizon, that audio runs through the phone, so you can either have your phone on speaker, like up to your ear, or you can connect headphones either through hardwire or through Bluetooth and listen to the agent talking to you through that. All right, and so who is this agent and how are they telling you information? So AER goes through a formal training and screening process. I can't tell you exactly what that looks like because I've never gone through that, and I haven't gone to that much detail with the company. But they have a live camera feed on their end and a whole user platform that they have access to, including all your profile information, like your name, where you live, how many AER minutes you have, the emergency contact that you put in for your AER profile, the signal strength for your phone, the battery levels for your phone. So it gives the agent a ton of flexibility and awareness of where you are. And so there's the live on-the-ground camera view, as well as the bird's eye view on what looks like one of those Google or Apple Maps platforms, which is pretty sweet. And the AER agent also, they have a newer feature where they're able to connect your Uber account. If you allow it on your end, you can connect your Uber account, and the AER agent can schedule an Uber ride right then and there for you if you wanted, and it goes through your account, which is pretty cool. One of the downsides about this that I've personally experienced is that the signal strength is not always the best. by default. I think they choose AT&T, but they also have connections or partnerships with T-Mobile. So whichever service provider provides a stronger service in your area or where you are going most often is the service that they're going to try and pair that Samsung Galaxy with. So what are some realistic situations of when you can use it? Oh man, thank you, Melanie. There's the, I was looking at it on my computer. So there's the user profile on the AER agent's end. You can see the live street view. It looks like a consumer is trying to get around a barricade and wanting to make sure that they're not stepping out into traffic, as well as the route that they've traveled so far just below it. The signal strength and battery levels in the top left corner, user profile, emergency contacts, Uber connections as well. Thank you. All right, so what is a functional application of it? I've always found that the hardest part of any mobility lesson is the last 10%, getting from the sidewalk on the block up to the door of where you're going, or getting from the bus stop to the door that you're going to, or trying to find one of those bus stops where it's just a metal pole that can feel like any light pole or street light. So finding those visual clues that are pretty easy to find for people without vision loss or maybe low vision users is really what it's most beneficial for. There's also potential for it to be used around your house, like when you get printed paper mail. If you want to go through huge piles of mail, I know plenty of people who have gone through that in like an hour and don't have to rely on a family or friend to come over. You can use AER 24/7, so you don't have to worry about bugging somebody that you're close with to read some mail for you. I know people who have gone through mail and then or looked at different pictures and created labels so that they can Braille label the pictures. So there are tons of different ways that you can use AER, and it kind of beats the old traditional way of having to rely on somebody else as a human guide, having to hope that you cross paths with a stranger who might be able to orient you in the airport, or call ahead of time to meet with a customer service rep from whatever business you're traveling to. It avoids all those extra steps. If you have these glasses, you can just throw them on, connect to an agent, and you have somebody right then and there. There's really no wait time. It's perfect for crossing parking lots, airports, grocery stores, bus stops. They have had problems trying to figure out the extent of how much they're supporting street crossings. They are not, from what I know, they are not allowed to tell you you're safe to cross, start crossing now. What they are allowed to say is stuff like, the light you're looking at is green, or the walk signal that you're facing it shows a pedestrian symbol. So it's allowed to give you that visual information and let the user decide on where to go from there. And meal prepping. I know some people have used AER glasses to meal prep, which is pretty cool. Reading ingredients, barcodes, all that good stuff. So the pricing points for AER are I think they're fair for what you're getting. You can have a guest pass for free, which you need like certain codes to qualify for when you can use it, and you don't have access to the glasses. You can only use your phone. Or you can upgrade to $29 per month for 30 minutes. Same deal. You don't have access to glasses, just your phone. Or then for serious users, you can do 120 minutes for $100 a month, or 300 minutes for $200 a month, plus a little bit of an extra fee if you want those glasses added on, which is I would say pretty reasonable for what you're getting. I've also found that the customer support people on the other end have always been extremely nice, helpful, caring, understandable, and fairly clear and concise in their communication. And I've also found that getting a hold of their customer service from a non-user's standpoint is pretty easy to navigate as well. So they're off and running. I have the glasses. We have a live demo pair here. I wanted to open it up for anybody who wanted to try them on. We can connect with an agent right now if we wanted to. So let's get through the rest of our slides, and then we have a couple other pieces of technology that people can kind of come up and explore and ask more questions on. But any questions about IRA in the meantime? Yes. That's a good. Yeah, that's a good question. I know that they are constantly in contact and communicating with different entities all over the country. So I know they've created a pretty strong partnership with Target, and there are Targets all over the U.S. who have this partnership with IRA. And if you're an IRA user and go in there, you can use their service without eating up any of your minutes. So Target has been good in that. There are some airports who have agreed to that kind of term as well, where if there's an IRA user, you can use it in that place without using any of your minutes, which is pretty sweet. And this was only started less than 5 years ago, or 4 years ago. So I'm sure that it's going to keep growing and spreading like wildfire. That's different state by state. This isn't an APH product, obviously. I found this to be more helpful too for the adult and transition age population, people who have those strong street crossing skills already, strong orientation awareness, problem solving skills. This isn't gonna. You can't give this to somebody on their first O&M lesson and say, okay, you're set for the rest of your life. Just like a guide dog, right? You still need that strong foundation. But yes, I do know that they're constantly working on partnerships with different agencies all over the country. Any other questions? Yes, and you can request that different terms can be kept consistent throughout your experience with IRA. So they on that user profile, they can save things that say, I don't know, for example, let's say the crosswalk lines. Somebody might call those the street lines or the white lines. If you want to say, from now on, no matter what agent I want to talk to, I want those things referred to as crosswalk lines, they'll save that in your profile, and that customer service agent will announce those as crosswalk lines, no matter who it is. And so, yeah, you kind of have to build that relationship with them as you get going, as far as what kind of services and level of expectations you as a user have. And the more and more you use it, the more and more streamlined it becomes. So the very first time you use it, it's kind of like going on a blind date, so to speak. You're really not sure how the other person is thinking or feeling, but the more and more you interact with them, the more and more consistent that communication becomes. That's a good question. That's where there's that fine line of liability between them. I'm not an IRA representative, so I don't feel confident answering that for them. I would assume and hope that they would say things like you are outside of the crosswalk line now, or they also might have a liability clause with their agents that say during a street crossing you're not allowed to say a word, because if you say something that the user is doing because they're noticing something out of their peripheral field, or they're hearing something that's causing them to turn outside, and all of a sudden an IRA agent says, oh, you're doing something wrong, and the person stops or freezes or corrects themselves, that could be a problem. So I would assume that there's no communication during crossings, but that's just my assumption, so don't hold me to it. Any other questions? Yeah. On the original pair of glasses, which I believe they're not distributing anymore. So on that same side, it's kind of top heavy on the right side, because there's the camera as well as the microphone built into that earpiece almost. And so rather than having both of those on there, now it's a little more of not sure I'd call it sleek, but a little more of a different design where the camera is front and center, but now you're going to have this cord running out of the back right piece. The microphone's in that Samsung, yeah. And so you can connect headphones or just put it on speakerphone, whatever you're comfortable with.
If they're able to hear you as well?
Yes, yeah. Yes. Other questions? Nope. All right, we're going to move forward then. And we have some other fun resources we want to talk about. Seeing AI, Nearby Explorer, Be My Eyes, Victor Trek, and some cool beacons. So we'll probably go through those a little more quickly and then leave some chance for one-on-one conversations and exploration of our tools.
How many of you has used Seeing AI? Nice. I know I see a table of our adult students, and they probably get sick of me talking about it because from day one I teach many of them how to use it. It's one of my favorite applications, and I need to make this a little bigger. I can't see it. Seeing AI is a Microsoft research project that uses artificial intelligence to narrate the environment that surrounds the user. In my experience, I feel like it keeps getting better and better, more accurate. I know the algorithms that it uses when you take a picture of your environment to tell you what's within your environment seem to be getting better and better. Some of the features include short text, document, products, person, scene, currency identifier, ambient light detector, color, and handwriting. For short text, you use your camera and it searches for printed material continuously, and it speaks the text as soon as it appears in front of the camera. This is good with the adults, I use it for canned goods, or if you just want to read the front of a piece of mail. But for more in-depth, you want to use the document feature. Within the document feature, the app provides audio guidance to capture the printed page. Some of my students like it better than the KNFB reader, which is you have to pay for, but I like them both. But the Seeing AI enables the user to do more with the one app. With the document scanner, the application, I find it works best if you lay the document on a flat piece of paper, flat table, and you lay your phone in the center of the document horizontally and gradually raise it up, and it'll help you capture all the edges. The cool thing is when you're using it with VoiceOver, you can use all the VoiceOver features like navigating it by headings and such. Another feature within the Seeing AI is the barcode scanner or the product. Within this feature, some items, when we're doing canned goods, or the other day I made a cake with a client and they're able to take a picture of the product, it describes the product, and it also reads the cooking instructions so that they can access the printed document non-visually. The person feature, it recognizes friends and describes the people around you. It also describes their affect. I find this feature to be hit or miss. I have taken a picture of my wife who's younger than me, and it says, she's smiling. It'll say, 48-year-old woman smiling, even though she's in her 30s. I've also had my students take a picture of me, which is pretty funny. The age always varies. My students have a good time, and they usually laugh at me for a while. I've also had my students try and take a selfie of themselves, and this will be like a middle school student, and it'll tell them that it's a 23-year-old man smiling, so they get all happy. That's pretty funny. This scene feature is an experimental feature to describe the scene around you. This can be hit or miss. I feel like it's getting a little better, but it doesn't always accurately describe what's around the user. One feature that's consistently worked for me when I use it with my students is the currency identifier. So in addition to having folding methods for their wallet, I have them use the currency identifier, and it only identifies U.S. currency currently. It does not identify coins, but it's just another tool for students to use to keep track of their money and make sure they're not getting shortchanged when they're out in the environment. The next feature, I've only used it a few times. It's the light feature, which generates an audible tone corresponding to the brightness of your surroundings. So for some of our users who don't have light perception, this can be a good tool for them. The next feature is the color feature, which describes the perceived color. I found this to be pretty accurate, but it also depends on the lighting that you're in. It can alter the perceived color depending on how well lit your environment is. And I believe the handwriting feature, the last feature, is still in beta, but from what I've seen and I've had my students try it, it works pretty well. And one of the best things is this application's free, and it seems to be getting stronger and stronger, and I hope it creates competition where we're going to be getting more and more apps that we can use, and where it's not something that impacts our budget. So.
Awesome. So how many of you have heard of Nearby Explorer before? See a couple of hands. So this is an app that is available from APH, and you can get it with quota funds. It has a free version that just has a couple of different features, but essentially it's a full-featured app, and instead of just providing directions, it describes kind of the environment in ways comparable to reading signage or observing road characteristics. I've used this with some of my students, and it's kind of fun to be able to kind of give them clues to what's around them. So if they're in a new location, they can use the phone and kind of rotate it and be able to know where's the nearest McDonald's, or there's a donut shop 100 feet away. And you can onboard maps so that it doesn't use data. So this is helpful when you're using the free version. You can lock the screen and you can use it hands-free while still receiving feedback if you are traveling. And it lets you orient the phone in various positions to get information about places, directions, streets, and the closest place to you. It provides detailed descriptions of intersection configurations as you approach them. You can transit stop direction of travel, next time, and head sign signals for transit systems in several metro areas. Gives you the distance and direction to those places, and it's adjustable scope for prominence and proximity for place announcements. So it's kind of somewhat helpful, kind of as Spencer was talking about, that last 10%, it helps aid in part of that. And it is $109 on the Apple Store, or available through APH, and $104.99 on Google Play, or available through federal quota. Another app, I'm sorry. Yes, yeah, the free version, I think when I was using it, it was pretty easy to use, so, well, that's good to know. So don't spend $100. Get the free version.
Isn't the other thing with Nearby Explorer too is like for indoor navigation, you need the iBeacons and stuff, and they have to be programmed, right? 'Cause I know they're using it. I think one of the big things is indoor navigation is way more difficult than outdoor, and I think that one of the things that they pride themselves on is that it was developed to try to resolve some of the issues for indoor navigation using the iBeacon. You guys have that set up here or no, by any chance?
No, we don't have that set up here, but we're going to talk a little bit about some beacon technology through a different system, but it is another pretty neat feature with Nearby Explorer. Another one, Be My Eyes. How many of you have not heard about this app before today? Anybody? One person? So Be My Eyes, as many of you know, is a pretty neat app. It's a free app that connects a blind or low vision user to a sighted volunteer. I use it, and I've actually had some of my friends that, as many of you as professionals may know, when you are talking to family or friends, at least I get this all the time, like, so what exactly do you do? And they're always kind of curious and wanting to know, does anybody experience that? Family and friends, they don't really know what we do. So I had some of my friends that don't know anything about this profession, even after I've told them many times, they keep forgetting. I have gotten them on the Be My Eyes app, and a couple of them have really enjoyed being volunteers on the app. So essentially, as many of you might know, it's the free app, but it can be used to kind of, with O&M, to help navigate new surroundings, identify a street or a bus stop, intersection type, or to locate maybe an APS. But this would not be, as I guess you could say, maybe could be somewhat like a substitute to IRA if you were trying to get something free and something simple. But obviously IRA has those trained agents that are going to give you really good information. So if you're just looking for something simple like, how do I change, or what temperature is my thermostat at? That was one of the stories one of my friends told me she helped somebody with. And I really like the website. They have a lot of really cool success stories, which is really fun to read about. But this is a good app, I think, to teach our students how to use. Kind of if you don't have IRA and you are having trouble finding a bus stop, you know, not every bus stop in Phoenix is the same. And being able to do simple things like that, but obviously not helping with crossing an intersection, that would be not useful. And there are, I think, 2,047,307 volunteers. I almost forgot how to read math for a second. There's 121,959 users, and it's available in 150 countries and in 180 languages. Is there any questions about Be My Eyes app?
Awesome. Wrapping up here, there is another cool product that Humanware has called the Victor Trek. It's the Victor Stream Reader and the the Trekker Breeze combined into one. So it's lightweight, convenient. It holds a ton of data, long battery life. I found a lot of the features you could find on Blind Square. They're pretty similar to this. One thing that this does, which is pretty unique, is it announces what type of intersection you're approaching to a certain extent. It'll only say if it's like two-way, three-way, or four-way, which I thought is pretty cool. But the problem with really all GPS devices when you're in that walking mode is that because of the government and the satellites in the sky, you can only get down as close to 30 feet to where you're going. So there's a cool feature on the Trek that allows you to pinpoint a location. So I could pinpoint right here and say FBC Gym. And anytime I would hope to like stand into this exact spot, it would say FBC Gym. The only problem is because of that data agreement, you can only get as close to 30 feet. So I could be outside the door, and if I'm a total no vision traveler, then I'm completely lost if I'm 30 feet away from where I'm really trying to go. And I found that to be a little frustrating, like especially when you're in an outside environment. But it is a really cool product. I'd recommend you guys to check it out. Not the most affordable if you're just an independent buyer, but if you're able to find contracts, I think they run for just around $600. I'm sure Rachel in the back would be able to talk a little more about how effective it is and different options. I know you can, there are different pricing plans for it. And then another cool product, which we didn't even have a chance to talk about because there are so many, is Sunu. And they're here today also from Mexico. So please stop by and say hi to Pedro. They have a really cool wristband that is like the latest and greatest technology that sends, I don't want to call it sonar signals, but maybe sonar signals, and tells you where and how close you are to objects in front of you for you to kind of scoot around. And I know they're integrating a ton of more technology as well. So make sure you get with Pedro. And then moving on, we have this beacon technology video, which is pretty cool. Jay Whipple, who is an absolute legend in our state, has partnered with the state of Arizona and the city of Tempe and the Gila River community to implement these beacon technologies, and they're pretty nifty. There's a quick little video we're going to kind of breeze through because I want to get to the AER glasses. Oh, maybe. We can just upload those to the Dropbox, and you guys can check it out if you want. It's those beacons that I'm sure everybody's heard about at one point or another along their years of O&M training, where if you get really close to a certain beacon, it tells you all the detailed information about that area. And so they have it at the Tempe Transit Center, where there's like 8 different bus stops going in 8 different directions. So it gives detailed information about the 72 South versus the 44 North or whatever it is. All right, any questions about any of the technology we covered today? How many? Oh, we got one back there, Faye. Yes, that will be published on that Dropbox that I think I sent most everybody here a link. I'm sure you guys are sick of getting my emails. But I sent everybody a link with that Dropbox account, and Melanie's done an awesome job of collecting all those presentations from the different presenters, and I know not all of them are in there. I don't think ours is yet, but we'll get that in there. Yeah. All right. So let's see. These things are as nice as I make them out to be. Anybody up here want to try it? Or anybody out there want to come up here? AER glasses? I know some of you do. Going once. AER glasses, come on. Who wants to? Alex? Adult client? Pat? Come on up, Pat. All right. All right, so I just connected the phone and the glasses. And I turned on the phone. Make sure we're live here.
Initializing AER. Battery 86%.
So
Hello Explorer, AER ready for service.
And all you have to do is double tap the home button, and all the instructions are pretty straightforward when you order it.
Calling AER agent. Connecting to 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 agent.
I think if
Connecting to agent Emma. Starting video. Please wait.
Hi, thanks for calling AER. This is Emma. What would you like to do today?
Hi, Emma. My name is Spencer, and I'm with the Foundation for Blind Children, and we are at a conference right now, and we are demoing your product. If you want to say hi to our audience.
Hello, everyone.
So we just wanted to show off your cool technology. I'm going to give it to a participant now, and if you want to take a walk around the room, Pat and Emma can tell you what's going on.
Okay. Awesome. How's it going?
It's going okay, Emma.
Anybody else want to try? We're good? All right, thank you so much, Emma. Double tap the home button and the call is over, just like that. I only used maybe 2 minutes worth, and I got a ton of information there, so pretty cool stuff. If anybody has any questions for us, we'll be up here at the front with the glasses, the Victor, and anything else. So thank you.